Merci beaucoup. Merci de votre accueil. Merci à vous tous d'être présents et je salue en particulier les Mayennais, les Vauclusiens, voilà, du comtat venessin aussi, qui sont dans cette salle. Désolé de m'exprimer en français, mais c'est la langue que je maîtrise le mieux. Voilà, beaucoup mieux que l'anglais en tout cas. Alors, on est cet après-midi sur l'upcycling, qui est une des dimensions innovantes de la lutte contre le gaspillage alimentaire. Et moi, j'ai été surpris de voir comment le sujet upcycling s'est imposé en fait dans le débat public, dans des pratiques nouvelles sur le plan économique, bien sûr. Et la question qui m'est posée à moi, c'est comment on peut soutenir davantage encore, moi je suis un politique, je suis chargé de faire la loi, comment on peut davantage encore soutenir les entreprises comme la vôtre qui s'inscrivent dans une dynamique économique locale contre le gaspillage alimentaire. En 2016, vous l'avez rappelé, moi j'avais fait voter une loi à l'unanimité à l'Assemblée nationale parce que j'étais allé voir les uns les autres et nous avions des différents groupes qui à l'époque étaient représentés à l'Assemblée et ensemble, j'avais dit on doit poser les bases, jeter les bases d'une nouvelle politique nationale contre le gaspillage alimentaire. Ça n'existait pas avant. Et qui parce qu'on l'aurait conçu ensemble, nous mettrait ensuite à l'abri des alternances. C'est pour ça qu'on a réussi à écrire un texte que j'avais eu l'honneur de porter, le faire voter à l'unanimité, et qu'on peut encore aujourd'hui toujours parler de la lutte contre le gaspillage alimentaire, parce que le fait que ce soit voté par tout le monde, à l'unanimité, ça a rassuré les acteurs économiques et ça a posé un cadre d'action pour les années qui ont suivi. Et aujourd'hui, eh bien, moi je vois que la montée de l'upcycling, c'est finalement un hommage rendu à cette lutte contre le gaspillage alimentaire parce qu'on a démontré, et vous êtes en train de démontrer que non seulement c'est efficace d'un point de vue économique, mais c'est vertueux, et en particulier d'un point de vue écologique. Il faut juste rappeler 2 ou 3 chiffres très simples, mais à l'échelle mondiale, aujourd'hui, nous gaspillons, nous jetons 1/3 de la production alimentaire totale. Ça, c'est des chiffres qu'on connaît bien aussi à TooGoodToGo. Donc, chaque fois qu'on active un levier contre le gaspillage, eh bien, on fait avancer la planète sur un chemin, je le disais, plus vertueux. La question ensuite qui se pose aux politiques, c'est comment, je le disais, on peut être mieux à vos côtés. Alors on est là aussi pour vous écouter aujourd'hui parce que ce que vous allez nous dire va évidemment compter pour ce que nous allons faire ensuite. Et moi, je veux inscrire la suite de mon action politique, non seulement dans une dimension nationale, mais dans une dimension européenne et internationale. Considérant que le combat contre le gaspillage alimentaire, il s'impose à nous tous sur la planète. Si on veut tenir les objectifs des accords de Paris sur la maîtrise du réchauffement climatique, ce qui est loin d'être gagné aujourd'hui, bien sûr, on devra réduire l'empreinte écologique et donc bien sûr, on devra, l'empreinte carbone par contre, pardon, et donc bien sûr, on devra réduire le gaspillage. Donc, lorsque, par exemple, on produit des biscuits à partir des résidus de céréales qui viennent d'une brasserie, par exemple, lorsque on fait des soupes avec des pieds de brocoli qu'on aurait auparavant jetés, on économise des ressources, on préserve les matières premières, on fait un pas en avant. Est-ce que ce que font les politiques au plan national, au plan européen ou au plan international est suffisant? C'est à vous de nous le dire. Pour qu'ensuite, nous, on puisse adapter l'action publique. Une fois qu'on a dit ça, notre propos n'est pas qu'économique. Nous sommes bien sûr là dans un salon international de l'alimentation avec une visée d'échanges commerciaux. Mais si on veut vraiment changer les choses, il faut qu'on puisse intervenir, et ça c'est un de mes grands combats, sur la conscience et la conscience des citoyens. Et ça commence pour moi, par l'éducation à l'alimentation. Si on est capable de faire en France ce qu'on fait très bien dans d'autres pays, alors on sera plus efficace contre le gaspillage alimentaire, alors on pourra mieux soutenir des entreprises comme la vôtre, parce qu'il y aura cette conscience partagée que lutter contre le gaspillage alimentaire, c'est envisager autrement notre alimentation. C'est mieux respecter l'alimentation, mieux respecter le travail de ceux qui produisent l'alimentation. Et ça, c'est un défi formidable. Donc, l'inscription de l'éducation à l'alimentation à l'école, je dis bien à l'école, sur le temps scolaire, dans les programmes scolaires, pour moi, c'est le combat des prochaines années également. J'étais l'an dernier au Danemark, où ils sont, qui est un petit pays, il y a 10 millions d'habitants que TooGoodToGo connaît bien. Mais moi, j'étais très impressionné de voir que dès l'école, on transmet des repères, des valeurs, des savoirs qui ont lien avec l'alimentation, avec la lutte contre le gaspillage alimentaire. Et ben, ça produit quoi après? Ça produit des startups qui maintenant essaiment dans le monde entier. Voilà. Donc, on ne peut pas et on ne doit pas déconnecter l'action économique d'une action sur l'éducation, d'une action écologique, parce que c'est global, on est dans le même monde et il n'y a pas de planète B. Donc, avancer ensemble, et je trouve ça formidable qu'aujourd'hui on ait un dialogue entre des politiques et des acteurs économiques comme vous l'êtes, et ben c'est la seule voie pour avancer concrètement, efficacement, et je vais terminer par là, dans une maîtrise de ce que nous voulons les uns les autres. J'ai souvent dit, et je veux le redire ici au SIAL, il faut qu'on mette de la démocratie dans l'assiette. Il faut que nos choix d'alimentation ils puissent être débattus collectivement, à l'échelle d'un pays. Parce qu'on mange 3 fois par jour, et puis ça a des conséquences sur l'ensemble des politiques économiques, climatiques, culturelles, d'éducation. Bref, si on est capable de mettre en débat les grands enjeux qui sont liés à l'alimentation, si on est capable de mettre de la démocratie dedans, ça veut dire ensuite de faire des choix collectifs pour la qualité de notre alimentation, pour la valeur qu'on assigne à notre alimentation, eh bien, je pense qu'on vivra dans un monde mieux régulé, donc plus responsable vis-à-vis de son alimentation, mais aussi plus fraternel, sans doute. Parce que plus il y a du dialogue, plus il y a de la régulation, mieux on vit ensemble. C'est vrai à l'échelle d'un pays, ça devra demain être vrai à l'échelle de notre planète. En tout cas, moi, c'est le sens de mon combat. Je suis heureux de le partager avec vous aujourd'hui.
Merci. Thank you very, very much. Indeed. So one of the what is it called, implication of the law was the emergence a little bit faster with TooGoodToGo. So Clémentine, would you like to present it, please?
Yes, thanks a lot. I couldn't agree more on what you said.
Did you talk before?
Nope.
You didn't?
Nope.
Because this is exactly what she's going to say afterwards.
I couldn't agree more on what you said about education. And I think we'll have time to explain after. But TooGoodToGo launched a program through schools to educate and sensibilize all the students, all the teenagers to food waste. I'd like to go back to one of the key figures of my presentation of why we fight against food waste at TooGoodToGo, because we don't all agree on it. It means that we don't have the same metrics, and it's hard nowadays to calculate the amount of food wasted. The figure I have is that 40% of the food produced is wasted. It's insane when you look at the people in the planet, at all the people who don't have enough food in their plate at the end of the day. And when you look at the number of people who will be in the planet in 10 years, it means that we waste too much. And just think about it. When we waste a product, when you throw to the bin one cucumber, for instance, you have a lot of liters of waters used to be produced. You have a man behind this product that worked day and night to produce this product, and you have economic loss. So what can we do? This is why TooGoodToGo was created, and this is what we are fighting for, is to fight against food waste and to help a new habit of consumption in the planet and through citizens. TooGoodToGo, as you mentioned, it has been created in 2016. 4 co-founders, and one is French, one is Danish. Actually, the headquarters are in Denmark, in Copenhagen, but we are more than 100 people in France working to fight against food waste. Nowadays, it's a huge solution. We gather more than 13 million of users in France only. it's 35,000 stores working in the app. So what do we do? What do we propose? Our aim is to help stores who have surplus, who have food that hasn't been sold, to be sold to consumers who live next to the shops. So you use the app, and you can be connected through the app to the retailer to buy the food. It's a win-win proposition, because for the store, you would have wasted this food. So it's an economic loss, and you find new débouchés. I don't know how you say it in English. Débouchés. Outcome exactly for this food. For the consumer, it's as well an economic positive advantage, because you will buy the food 3 times less than what it would have been sold otherwise. In addition to this economic value you have been creative, it's as well an environmental gesture you're making. Because as you said, nowadays food waste is 10% of the greenhouse emissions in the world. It's the 3rd countries, if we compare to it, after China and the United States. So it's a huge opportunity for everyone in a win-win situation, an environmental positive aspect, and as well economic one. So this is what we are fighting daily at TooGoodToGo. It's in France, it's 50,000 meals that we save every day. And we are really proud of it. But now it's not our only fight. I mean, we used to be an app. We want to be bigger than an app. This is why we have developed partnerships with distributors, retailers, and industries to work on what are the key problems and why do we waste food in the households, for instance. So we have developed a label, and on the packaging we add a logo telling that, please, when you're a consumer, when you look at the product, compare and differentiate the different date labeling you have on your product. It's 65 retailers and companies that are working with us that are now using this pictogram on the product. It's 300 million of products in France, daily products like Danone, Nestlé, Kellogg's, La Vache qui rit, that are now apposing this picto on the packaging to help consumers be more aware of food waste and what they can do. Not only we work with them, but we work also with hotel, restaurants, agriculture, farmers, to help avoiding this issue and reduce food waste globally. Our mission is to inspire and empower people to reduce food waste at their own scale. And we do it through education. We are also working with cities to help cities implement programs, sensibilization, help the retailers to know the app and work against food waste. And nowadays, it's a huge success. We are now in 17 countries. In less than 6 years, we are more than 1,500 people working for TooGoodToGo. And I think we can be, we have a lot of things to do ahead of us, but it's a huge project and a lot of successes that are still we need to still work on it, and I think this roundtable shows it.
Thank you very much. So now we've seen how the food is already produced, and we look how we can avoid trashing it. And now we're going to have another presentation about more of it has been produced. How do you reuse it to inject it as raw material again, right?
Yeah, this is exactly this. In fact, I need to thank all of you because first of all, without the law, the problem of food waste was not so in the mind of everyone. So it's the first good point, and also because TooGoodToGo did a really good job to prevent food waste. So what do we do, in fact, is...
I will just warn him so he knows.
Okay.
He's going to ask you for another law afterwards.
Yeah.
So just you're careful and you know about this.
Okay. So if you can sign, it's perfect. I will write it for you. So in fact, just to explain, what we do is, for example, TooGoodToGo is fighting against food waste with the consumers, retailers, and we want to do it with the industry. In fact, the ADEME, which is the environmental French agency, defined that there is 20% more or less that food waste produced during the transformation. So when it goes to the food industry, they lose 20% of the total amount of food waste. And they lose it as, most of the time, as side streams. It means that this is a raw material that has some really good characteristics, but which goes to dishes and will not be valorized as it could. So the idea is just to find a way to create a circular model. The waste from one industry can be used in another one. And in fact, this is something that do not exist already.
Could you give an example of what you mean from one industry to another, please?
Okay, so the easiest will be orange juice producer. They will buy some orange, press it, obtain the juice, and then they do not have anything to do with the peel, with the seed, with the pulp inside. But there is some really interesting things. Everyone knows that in the peel there is some essential oil. In a part of the skin there is some fibers, the white one. There is the pectin, which is a fiber to do texture in foods. In the pulp, there is lots of fibers, etc., etc. So in fact, the problem is that in our model, when there is an outcome directly in the same supply chain, it's used already. But when you need to cross the market to go to a different application, it's quite complicated because, yes, you have to cross the industry. So that's why, for example, when you do cosmetic products, you do not know the industry of the juice product, and on the opposite. So the idea is to think that for every orange that will go through the production, 100% of this orange will be used, and not only the 30% which represent the juice. So what we have done is, first of all, the founder of the company spent 3 years to identify as much side stream as possible. And he discovered that, first of all, there is a huge amount of side stream, and every factory is producing lots of these dishes, which can become an ingredient. And the second thing is that there is something inside, or there is most of the time, there is something to do with this raw material. And the only problem is to connect the deposit with the demand. So this is our job, is just to fill the gap between these two companies, that one of them has a side stream, but they threw it away, and another one that is looking for new opportunities. Because what is really important is to understand that this side stream, if you say to a consumer, let's eat dishes, of course it doesn't work. But when you look deeper, there is a lot of molecules, a lot of functionality, a lot of things that are really interesting to use and that can be cheaper than the standard raw material. So in fact, at the end, if you use 1 kilo of upcycled ingredient, this is 1 kilo of standard raw material that you do not need to use, and then this is the equivalent of water, gasoline that do not need to be produced and to be used, sorry. And what is quite interesting is also when you look in terms of environmental resources, a food product is 60% of the CO2 emission come from the agriculture. So we have many companies working on transport, working on the packaging, which represent both 15%. But the biggest part is the 16% of the agriculture. And one of the only way to economize it is to use this upcycled ingredient, because it does already exist. So you do not need to produce it again. And then, for example, if you take some almond byproduct, you can use it to do some delicious biscuits, and then you do not need to produce the almonds, most of the time in California, and then to import it also. So it's a huge economy of resources. And thanks a lot for all the education you do, because it's also a benefit for us. And I think that we exist today because there is some law and there is other companies that are opening the way for new startups like us.
Maybe just saying what you said is very important, because we don't have any planet B. The planet we have, we use all the resources nowadays and we can't produce more. So the thing is, how do we do with what we have already without producing more? And I think what you offer is the future of our food and our industry, because we won't have more. So let's do with what we have.
In fact, the idea is to increase the agricultural yield, because we cannot produce more, so we need to use in a better way. So stop wasting is increasing the agricultural yield. And it's also a question of local product in our case, because we will find outside stream our resources locally. And it is funny to think that sometimes we can propose to some companies that will produce aromas, for example, some raw material to do chocolate aromas coming from France, made in France. So this is not something that normally you should think about, but it's not coming all the time from far away. Sometimes we have something locally that can be used and that can be really effective.
Can you please explain, you gave, when we were preparing this talk, you talked about coffee, the fruit equals, can you please share with the audience?
One of the most famous side stream and upcycled ingredient is called the cascara. So in fact, when we all drink coffee or tea, we know that it's one of the drink that is the most consumed in the world. So you can imagine the big volumes that it represents. And in fact, we use only the seed. And for 1 kilo of seed, there is more or less 1 kilo of fruit. And no one think about what do we do with the pulp and with the fruit, because there is lots of interesting things. Like when we think about a fruit, there is some vitamins, there is other interesting molecules, and it's just normal for everyone, for every consumer, to use only the seed.
So I thought about you this morning because we had a little tour. I highly recommend that you go to SIAL at the startups or the innovations, because there was a startup that was proposing exactly what you were doing. So I took pictures for you, so you can find it.
And it's also a great example of how sometimes the law can change things, because we can use now the cascara since January 2022 in Europe. Before, it was considered as novel food and it was not allowed, which is quite crazy when you know that it's a really good product, it's tasty, and there is a lot of interesting molecule, and it can compete with tea or coffee, and it's an healthy drink. So it's a good example of how changing or making an evolution in the law can offer new opportunities and can especially help people to reduce food waste, in this case, the cascara.
So, Mr. Garot, you did not stop to this law. I'm sure you've got plenty ongoing that you want to share as to what's in store. Nobody will say anything, right? We're just among ourselves, right?
D'abord, je veux dire que ce que vous avez présenté les uns les autres, on connaissait TooGoodToGo. Moi, je découvre votre entreprise. C'est passionnant parce que c'est à l'évidence des entreprises de l'avenir. Et vous défrichez en ce moment l'avenir avec des entreprises positionnées comme la vôtre. Ça, c'est formidable. Notre rôle, donc, c'est bien de vous accompagner. Là, j'ai compris qu'il y avait une réglementation européenne qui avait pu être levée, en tout cas qui était une interdiction. Et maintenant, ça vous permet, ou ça permet aux entreprises du secteur de pouvoir produire, se développer. Moi, je serai toujours attentif, sachez-le, à d'autres exemples ou à d'autres blocages aujourd'hui de freins qui existeraient et que je pourrais être en mesure d'aider à lever, à faire lever. Je le dis d'autant plus que, c'est juste une petite parenthèse, moi je suis membre désormais de la commission des affaires étrangères à l'Assemblée nationale de notre pays, la France, et que je vais, là, dans les prochaines années, prochaines semaines, oui, on est élu pour 5 ans théoriquement. Voilà, donc dans les prochaines années, mais là, dans les prochaines semaines, travailler sur l'enjeu alimentaire mondial et en particulier sur la lutte contre le gaspillage alimentaire. Donc, chaque fois que je pourrais repérer des choses à débloquer, ça, c'est des combats, des sujets que je veux mettre dans le débat public. Je le ferai vraiment avec grand plaisir. Juste un mot pour répondre à votre question. Pour vous dire que sur le plan international et sur le plan européen, puisque c'est là-dessus que, dans cette perspective-là que je me situe, je crois que la question de la mesure du gaspillage est très importante. Parce qu'on parle tous de la lutte contre le gaspillage, mais est-ce qu'on est bien sûr de savoir de quoi on parle? Surtout quand on n'est pas capable, les uns les autres, nos sociétés, de dire ce qu'on gaspille à l'échelle d'un pays comme la France. Parce qu'on travaille aujourd'hui sur des estimations, sur des évaluations. C'est très bien, Mais il faudrait inviter chaque acteur de la chaîne alimentaire, chaque maillon de la chaîne, à pouvoir dire réellement ce qu'il perd, ce qu'il jette, ce qu'il gaspille chaque mois, chaque année. Ça, c'est un vrai combat à mener et on ne le mènera efficacement qu'au plan européen. Et je reviens vers vous, vers l'upcycling, parce que il faudra qu'on ait des mesures avec des grains, une granulométrie très, très fine. Parce qu'il y a des choses qui vont vous intéresser pour la suite. Et il faudra être capable de les repérer, justement. Donc, si on est capable d'avoir des outils de mesure du gaspillage qui soient vraiment très fins, sans être trop lourds pour les acteurs économiques, bien sûr, je pense qu'on fera progresser la cause. Donc, vous voyez, la mesure du gaspillage alimentaire, dire d'où on part, parce qu'on a juste, d'un mot, fixé des objectifs dans une loi qu'on a votée en 2019, la loi AGEC, Agir contre les gaspillages. Et moi, j'avais voulu que sur le gaspillage alimentaire, on se fixe des objectifs ambitieux, tant qu'à faire, pour ne pas perdre la dynamique qu'il y a en France. Et on a dit, d'ici 2025, on va diminuer de 50% le gaspillage dans les domaines de la distribution alimentaire et de la restauration collective. Et on fera le même effort pour 2030, s'agissant des autres maillons de la chaîne alimentaire, donc la production, la transformation et la restauration commerciale. Et on le fera 50% par rapport à 2015. Donc 2015, on serait sur une évaluation de ce qu'on gaspillait à l'époque, mais là, il faut bien qu'on rentre dans le dur maintenant, qu'on sache exactement de quoi on parle. Mais pour ça, il faut encore que j'arrive à me motiver, mes chers collègues, du Parlement, mais aussi au gouvernement, parce qu'il nous faut une volonté politique beaucoup plus forte que celle qu'on a aujourd'hui, malheureusement. Il faut le porter, tout ça. Et il faut surtout le partager, comme moi je l'avais fait en 2016.
And the governments worldwide do not have a choice, because there's the youth who is here. They will not accept that what's going on gets to the point where it does not make sense. So what you said is that based on the law, what you're saying is that to go further, you need measures. So yeah, and this is exactly what they both have. So TooGoodToGo has measures, but Upcycled also has measures. So did you mention it?
Yeah, we just observe it, but it's completely true, because when we discuss with the different organizations, we can see that some of the product that we find interesting, because we found specific things inside, it's not considered as dishes, and it's just like out of the system. So
dishes is the waste, right?
Yeah, waste.
Oh, waste, sorry.
So
okay.
I think that it will give us some surprise to have the good measure, because it will show that perhaps it's not 30 or 40, but even more.
Yeah.
So this is the first things. And also for the mobilization, I think the moment is quite really good now, because we see price increasing and the upcycling.
Inflation.
Yeah, inflation, and the upcycling is a way to contain the price. We can see that there is a lot of problem with environmental problem, and it's also a solution against environmental problem. And
energy.
I think that, and it's good sense also, because our grandmother was doing upcycling before.
Yeah.
And this is just coming back to something that should have been done. The food industry goes in perhaps a wrong direction during a few years. We can understand why. Need to produce for many people, need to guarantee the quality. But now we need to look back and look at all the problems that it caused that are perhaps worse now than what they wanted to avoid. So it's a really good moment, and I think that all the consumers will see that if you can help them with price, especially, they will be really happier, I think.
Juste un mot.
Go ahead.
Vous parliez de nos grands-mères. C'est vrai, il y avait des livres de cuisine, notamment un. Moi, je me rappelle l'avoir vu à la maison, chez les parents. C'était l'art d'accommoder les restes.
Les restes, yes.
Mais c'est
That's
exactement
true.
ce que vous faites.
Yes.
C'est l'art d'accommoder, de travailler les restes. Voilà. Bon, ben, ça, c'est une démarche qui vient de loin. Et chaque crise va susciter ses réponses. Et là, aujourd'hui, on a une crise de l'énergie qui est terrible. Tous les exposants m'en ont parlé, tous. J'ai passé l'après-midi dans les travées. Tout le monde m'en a parlé. Et puis, donc, le coût de l'énergie, Et puis, l'inflation c'est le moment, comme vous dites, propice pour qu'on puisse dire il y a des solutions. Et la lutte contre le gaspillage alimentaire, c'est une vraie solution, à la fois sur le plan du pouvoir d'achat des familles, sur le plan des coûts pour l'ensemble des transformateurs. Et puis, c'est tellement nécessaire pour la planète qu'on n'a plus de questions à se poser. Il faut foncer. Voilà.
And you did mention the fact that you needed to bring awareness. And this is exactly what TooGoodToGo is doing with a whole bunch of programs.
Yeah, we are working in schools, but you mentioned it, nowadays food waste and our app, what you're doing is a concrete solution, easy to use. TooGoodToGo, you only have to have a smartphone to use it.
You all have TooGoodToGo on your phones? Yeah.
So it's pretty simple. It's simple for your user to have a good product with less cost than what you could have with an environmental benefits. It's also easy to use for stores that are working with us. You have an app, you put the surplus you have on the app, and then someone comes. And for us, it's an easy doing as well, because we are all convinced of the benefits we are doing. I think that we are, right now, people are changing on their habits, on how do they consume products. They look at what there is behind the product. And they are more aware of the water that is needed to be produced, the people behind the product, the farmers. How do we pay the right price for the right product? And this is essential. Not only consumers are now aware of it. I think that the whole food industry is aware of what we can do, that they have responsibility. As you mentioned, maybe for years and years, there has been practices, way of doing that have been bad for the environment and for our society. There is a change of mind, and we see it at TooGoodToGo. What I was mentioning about the date labeling, 65 industries are with us, working closely together, but they are competitors, but they want to work also together to find solutions, country solutions, and to help consumers to better behave. And I think it's something we need to raise. Industries, I think, and I believe, are more responsible than they were before, and it creates concrete change in our society.
Yeah, what is interesting is the effortless. In fact, if you want to prevent food waste, the easiest it will be, the easiest we will be able, the better will be the results. And this is exactly what we want to do with industries, making it easy for them, easy for the company who is throwing away, and also easy for a company who is looking for new sustainable ingredients. So it's really similar, and it's funny to see that we find the same solution for parallel problems.
So this is very interesting. The roundtable before this one, everybody was saying, oh, France is ahead on alternative meats and so on and so forth, or alternative proteins. How are we with the rest of the world as compared to food waste? No, in the rest of the world. On se situe comment par rapport au reste du monde? So, La France with the rest, how are we? Are we very good? Nobody does anything else? And be careful, because once you're going to answer for France, we've got an answer from Ecuador and we've got an answer from Vietnam. I'm warning them. And they're like, oh my God, question for me. Yeah, coming.
Well, I think the fact that Guillaume is here today shows the politic volunteer, the politic wish to make a change, and France, I think from my point of view, is ahead of it. When you look at TooGoodToGo, we are now in 17 countries. The first countries we got into were France, Denmark, Norway, well, it was in Europe, and now we have been expanding in other countries, other continents, and especially the USA. We've just opened a new office in Los Angeles, and we are in New York. When you look at the figures, Europe is well ahead of it due to the action of policymakers, of industry, and I think we need to give the best practices and what we have implemented in France to other countries, because it's working. It's still not enough, but I think the three actors we represent here shows that things are moving on.
Clearly.
Yeah, and on our side, we are a bit late, unfortunately, just about the upcycled world, upcycled ingredients. I think that startups goes faster in the US, like ever. So that's why we take them as an example, because we have everything here, and Hubcycled develop this web app where you can find all the upcycled ingredients to do exactly the same. So in fact, they have perhaps 2 years, they are 2 years in front of us, but we have all the resources to catch up the model.
Ce qu'on peut peut-être rajouter, c'est que, alors moi je me réjouis d'entendre avec des acteurs comme vous qui êtes mondiaux maintenant, que l'Europe est en pointe. Très bien. Et la France sans doute en Europe. Moi ce que je constate, c'est qu'on a aussi des points forts dans chacun des pays d'Europe. Le Danemark est fort sur l'éducation à l'alimentation. Nos amis anglais qui ne sont plus dans l'Union européenne mais qui restent néanmoins européens géographiquement, ils sont très bons, eux, dans la sensibilisation, dans l'information du consommateur. Et on sait, d'ailleurs, quand on a travaillé avec TooGoodToGo, je salue Simon Foucault qui était à l'origine de ce travail-là, lorsque il y a des partenariats qui avaient été conclus, on s'était beaucoup inspiré de ce qui était fait par les Anglais dans les mentions portées sur les produits à consommer. Hein, le before, consommer de préférence avant le, ça c'était quelque chose que les Anglais avaient su traduire autrement pour que les consommateurs ne soient plus inquiets devant une date qu'ils considéraient comme une date limite au-delà de laquelle ils ne pouvaient plus consommer, le best before. C'était très bon en anglais, nous on savait moins bien le faire. Ce que je veux dire par là, pour ne pas être plus long, c'est que je pense qu'il faut qu'on aille chercher le meilleur dans chaque pays qui est engagé contre le gaspillage alimentaire. Et moi, c'est ça que je veux faire au plan
You've got
français.
2 people that you can hire, give them a job to do the job and to make a study.
Absolument.
And it's done and it'll
Exactement,
be quickly done.
Voilà, on va construire ça. Mais il y a moyen d'aller plus vite, plus loin, si on arrive à travailler mieux ensemble au plan européen.
I agree. Thank you. So before that, can you tell us what is being done in Ecuador in terms of food waste? Are they ahead? Do they have ideas?
No, of course, Europe is ahead to countries like... sorry. I'm Joanna Renkens. I work for Ricolto, an international NGO with roots in Belgium. And we try to support, or better saying, to contribute to more sustainable food systems, working with farmers, but also with consumers, with retail, looking at how to make chains more sustainable and more inclusive in the north and in the south. So, of course, Europe is ahead when we talk about waste and about better use of food, because countries like Ecuador don't have the resources to have so much innovation. It's much more complicated. But on the other side, when you look at the development world and also the private sector, the bigger companies, they are feeling that they have to change. So they are changing. We see food banks already a long time. So that's something that happens, that the retail supports food banks with the waste, which they can't sell. But on the other hand, also we are working ourselves also with Cascara de Café to see what we can do with it, also with cocoa. The shelves of the cocoa, they are used in private sector for, I don't know anymore exactly, but really like material for new things, like for, how do you say that? For construction of houses. And also we are looking, for example, at the pulp of cocoa, which now is not used very much, to make juice and to make other things of it. So there is a lot going on, but it's quite small still. But of course, all the support is welcome.
Vietnam, do they do anything?
Bonjour, Anthony Verdugo, je suis chef d'entreprise au Vietnam. Le Vietnam, oui, clairement, a un gros retard sur ces questions-là. Après, il y a 2 parties à mon sens sur ce sujet. Il y a la partie waste sur la partie et ensuite il y a la partie waste sur la partie industrie. Et sur la partie industrie, on est un petit peu plus avancé. Bon, avec Dominique, on travaillait pour la même entreprise il y a quelques années. Et on n'est jamais, enfin, on est en discussion. Ça fait déjà 2-3 ans. Il y a, rien qui a été encore lancé. Mais je pense qu'on va, on va y arriver. Ça prend du temps. L'industrie, le problème, c'est que l'industrie aujourd'hui n'est pas encore prête. L'industrie qu'on connaît nous. Notamment de l'extraction et puis de food, cosmétiques, etc. Donc, clairement, la société de Dominique est là pour répondre à comme il disait, à ce gap. Et puis nous, on est là pour répondre à approvisionner en matières premières, en coproduits, on va dire. Et donc voilà, il y a des liens et des ponts à créer. Mais déjà, il y a un dialogue, donc c'est déjà bien engagé.
Thank you. Do you all realize, I'm sure you do, but if we all get together and we all share, there's a big company which is Time for the Planet. If we all, we can all do this for free. I mean, it's our planet, it's our lives, it's our kids. It would go very fast. I'm sure that within 1 week, if we all press a button, Time for the Planet, we could already collect all the best, base cases, use cases, and then politics, they just fill in the gaps. But they cannot do everything for us. They can only help when it doesn't work. Otherwise, they open the way. I think we're on time, and yeah. So last words. Everybody's happy. You had the questions. You're all happy. All good. Fantastic. So last thing is maybe each one of you say one thing that they really want to highlight that we should have as a key takeaway. Yeah, go
ahead. Well, around food waste, well, you just need to remember that food waste has an environmental benefit and an economical one. And it's easy to do. You just need to have your phone. And it's the easiest way to fight against food waste, but as well climate change.
Alors, un vœu pour conclure. Aujourd'hui, on est le 16 octobre. C'est la journée internationale de l'alimentation. Et lorsque j'étais ministre de l'agroalimentaire, j'avais fait de cette journée la journée nationale, donc française, contre le gaspillage alimentaire. Eh bien, d'abord, c'est un beau symbole que de venir la fêter au SIAL. Avec vous, bien évidemment, et au milieu de vous. Et moi, ce que je souhaite, c'est qu'on se retrouve dans 2 ans, puisqu'il n'y aura pas de Covid, donc on se retrouve dans 2 ans, et qu'on mesure les progrès qu'on aura faits, le développement de vos projets à l'international, voir comment on aura fait avancer nos sociétés françaises et du monde entier sur ce sujet d'intérêt planétaire. Merci à vous tous.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's just like for all the food industries that are looking for sustainable ingredients, they have now a solution, also like a web app, or they can just contact us. So, in fact, if everyone do his job, company produce food, producer continue to produce, and then we are here to do the link and to make it more circular. So I guess that we will do some really much better product in the future.
Okay.